Good afternoon, everyone. This is the 96th edition of TLR Show. Welcome. My name is Nidhi Sharma. Some of you may know me because you've seen me before. I'm a life coach, I'm a counseling psychologist, a career coach, but most importantly, I'm your growth accelerator. And today, I'm here with the TLR Show, which is a flagship live stream by TLR Now, which is a very niche training and mentoring services. It's based out of Pune, but now we are getting footprints in variety of other countries, so we are growing. And Tila Show is one place where we meet amazing people who share their expertise with us and tell us how lives can be transformed or how they help in upgrading the lives towards a brighter future. And as I say, going from good to great. So today it is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Kiran Modi. She is a founder and managing trustee of Udayan Care. Welcome, Dr. Kiran. Before I
My pleasure.
start, most welcome, ma'am. Udayan, in Sanskrit, it means eternal sunrise. And that's what Udayan Care has been doing since 1994. It's been empowering vulnerable children, women, and youngsters across 28 cities in 15 states in India. That's a large footprint and a mammoth job. And interestingly, it had a humble beginning and has nurtured about 25,000 young minds so far. Dr. Modi is the founder and managing trustee of Udayan Care with the vision of making young lives shine. With a doctorate, she has a doctorate in American literature from IIT Delhi. Dr. Modi has variety of experience, a diverse understanding. She understands child protection, media, health, and children's theater. She is a mentor mother to many children and youth, giving them personalized care and attention, recipient of prestigious awards. Dr. Modi continues to strive towards ensuring the rights of underprivileged children and youth with the same passion and zeal. So, as we begin the show, Dr. Kiran, great to have you here. It's an honor. Ma'am, my first question to you is that Udayan Care is doing phenomenal work, as we understand. And we would like to know what pushed you to start this mission. I know there is a website and details out what Udayan Care does. However, we would like the audience to also know from you, uh, you know, what brought you here and what inspires you, what has motivated you to take Udayan Care.
First of all, thank you for this great opportunity. And another thank you for calling our work phenomenal. We are actually far from there, but constantly striving for that. Udayan Care was started some 28 years ago when the four founder trustees came together, one of them being me. Idea was to regenerate the rhythm of life in children and young persons from underserved sections of society. You've asked me what pushed me into it. I had a PhD in American literature, was running a tabloid for South Delhi called Neighborhood Star, was involved in writing some columns here and there, and of course, children's theater. Then a personal tragedy actually shook my foundation, and I realized serving children and families would regenerate my own rhythm. Over the years, we have grown to be able to bring sunshine in the lives of vulnerable children and youth, including women. I strongly
Wow.
believe that everyone can be a catalyst of change. And towards that, we have nurtured a community of carers, people who are volunteers and who commit themselves a lifetime service to bring resilience and a good development focus to children and youth. And these are the people on whom I depend a lot. My life's goal has become the development of a model of care for children without parental care. So the cornerstone is as close to family as possible. We are running 16 Udayan Ghars, means sunshine homes, on a model called Life. Life means living in family environment. So these are the parents I've talked about the community of carers who, along with me, become like a parent to the children, to restore them, to strengthen them, to empower them, so that they don't have to be separated again and feel rudderless ever.
Wow.
Same theme goes on in our other programs on education, which is Udayan Fellowships. We are in 26 cities serving 11,000 girls. And vocational training centers, we have got 17 such centers, and more than 1,800 to 2,000 youth are trained into different vocations every year. Idea is, if you are able to nurture their children within the families won't disintegrate. They will get empowered, and family as a unit emerges strong. Family is actually the anchor, if you look at it, for any individual's emotional and physical well-being. So if the family structure is weakened or there is an absence of it, it hinders the development of an individual into a confident, strong, emotionally balanced individual who is capable of caring for his or her own family in the future. That's why we have kept our focus on strengthening the family structure. It informs and drives all our programs and even advocacy agenda.
Wow. I really like the catalyst of change bit, because I myself believe that that's what the kind of work that I do also lends to change. But what intrigued me most
Absolutely.
was life, living in family environment, and I am also a family therapist. So
Wow.
I can understand how important family is, and nurturing is, and caregiving is. And ma'am, with that brings a lot of challenges also. So there's a lot of work that you are doing. I'm sure there are challenges that you might be facing, which might be emotional, financial, operational, etc. How has it been so far? I mean, what are the best and the worst that the organization has faced? And when I say best ones, what I mean is that you might have, faced certain challenges that might have been met by you in the most empowering manner. So how has it been? And how do you really take on all these changes?
When you are talking about challenges taking us to heights, I totally agree. It is when you grapple with challenges, you come
Hmm.
up with interesting solutions, and you go on to the next level. I would just like to share a couple of challenges which I had to face, and that will give you an idea because we don't have so much time to talk about so many challenges. When I started out, I was clear I did not want to start an orphanage. And according to the Juvenile Justice Act, there were 50 children homes and there were 100 children homes. I really wanted to make it like a family, small number of children living together in a community where the community also owns them. So that was the dream. So the biggest challenge was to convince the government to allow us to set up a small home, within the community. So it took a lot of challenge to convince, but finally because most of the time the orphanages that were being run at that time, they were very large, and obviously less resources would be needed when you have larger numbers. So people were finding it little difficult that we wanted to have such an expensive model. But I was very clear that children need to be in the community, the surrounding community needs to own them, and so that they never feel like nobody's children. They grow up with the same sounds and smells of a neighborhood, the way you and I have grown up in our childhood. So that was the idea. So it was a challenge, but we could meet. And after that, there was no looking back. One after another, we set up 17 children's homes.
Wow.
If you look at the financial part for raising funds, it's always a problem, But
Yeah.
if you're doing good work and you are keeping your donors involved and you are, letting the donors come and see what you're doing, why wouldn't they continue with you? Because they are good Samaritans. They want to help out causes.
Right.
And I'm very, very proud to say in the last 28 years, we have seen the same consistent donors who continue with us because
Wow.
they can see what we are doing. So I think financial, by God's grace, and then I have a favorite saying, it's not my work, it's God's work. He has asked me to do it. he will find his ways. So financials has never worried me. And to tell you the truth, we've been able to manage because of the generosity of so many people and so many corporations, funding agencies. We have been able to survive. When you
Wonderful.
look at the yeah, when you look at the human resources, I think that's where you come across the biggest challenge. You need to have those kind of people who are compassionate and who genuinely want to contribute towards change. And it's not easy, to come by these kind of people. We tried to make a balance by, as I said earlier, creating a community of carers, people who voluntarily give of themselves, and on the other hand, professionals, who are from the sector and who bring in a lot of professional information and knowledge. And so we tried to match these two, and across our programs, we have beautiful, combination of the two. If you look at the Ghar program, where the children are being raised, these are children without parental care. We are 40 of us who are like parents to these children. We are volunteers and we commit ourselves to being with them till who knows what happens. So most of us are there for the last so many years. Similarly, in our Shalini program, we are now in 26 cities. Everywhere, these people coming from the community who are so much given to the cause. They join hands with us and they set up a chapter in their own cities, and they bring in a lot of resources and linkages. And then we have a complete professional setup, right from an executive director to just about everyone. Almost 250 people are employed with us. So I think this combination of passion and commitment, passion, determination, and professional information, that really goes very well with us.
Wow. Ma'am, there is a question that is coming to my mind when I was listening to you, and maybe some of the listeners may want to know this. So, India doesn't really see much of the foster care system, so to speak, the social, child welfare system, the way it is in the Western countries. I'm not saying they're good or we are bad, not at all, but there is a difference, right? So if so, when I want to understand two things. You said there is a community living that you are allowing these children to be in. So is this different from foster care? Is it and how is the what is the community and how are they owning these children? I know I'm asking quite a few questions, and in the same breath,
No,
I'm going to ask you one more question. So my question is this a foster care? If I don't think so, or it's not sounding that way. If this is a community living, then what community is this, and how are they owning this? And more importantly, how are the children who face these disadvantages of the traumatic experience of being just by themselves? How do they lend themselves to this program?
yes, too many questions. I may forget a couple of them, but let
So
me
first
try to
is this
answer
a
you.
foster and a community living,
Yes.
and what does community
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started, I did a lot of survey of the existing orphanage model or the childcare institutions. I visited a number of them, and I was not quite, satisfied with having a large number of children living together, so that they don't feel like a family. So
Hmm.
I studied a lot on the foster care model of the West. When we started at that time, foster care was not part of the Juvenile Justice Act. It wasn't talking about that. So we developed our own group homes, which we call
Hmm.
group homes. And here, a small number of children, 10 to 12, they live together. It could be a building in which one of the flats is peopled by our children, and in the other flats other people are living. Then all the mentors, they come from the community. This community is any middle class community where we set up the home. The idea is all the neighbors and these mentor parents who come in, they own the children, and they actually provide linkages, they provide emotional counseling, guidance. They actually become a window to the world for these children. So that way, it was little different from the foster care system. But in
Right.
2015, when the foster care program got into Juvenile Justice Act, 2015, and later on the rules, 2016, along with some other organizations. We were also part of the committee, and we really tried to push the group foster care system, which it has come into being, where 8 children could stay together in a group foster care home. So that model also now exists, and 2 of our homes are under group foster care, and the rest are still called childcare institutions, but with very small numbers. I hope I've been able to answer you.
Yeah. I'm still grappling a
Another
little
question
bit.
was, yeah, another question that you asked me, how do the children
Yeah,
adjust?
yeah.
So, it's
One
a,
second, before you get into this, what are the age groups that we are talking about? Are
yeah.
these
So
infants
in a
or
childcare institution, only children from 6 years onward, 6 to 18, they're supposed to be staying there. So we
right?
don't get children below 6, and we cannot keep youth once they become adults.
Adults,
So
yeah.
this is the way. And as far as adjustment goes, these children, we have to remember, they come from hugely traumatized backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing a parent,
That's why I was asking this question. That it would be
yes.
very
So
difficult for
losing a
them to.
parent,
Yeah,
absolutely. Losing a parent is in itself such a big trauma. And
right,
then, even sometimes, even if you have parents, they are the perpetrators, because of
right,
various reasons. There could be some uh, environmental issues like a poverty, like, lack of education. There could be so many, lack of health, lack of nutrition. But these are environmental factors for the family, and they are not able to look after the child. But these should not be the reason for the child to be away from the family. But this is how it has been in our country. So the child, after facing a lot of trauma at the parental house, then, comes to most likely run away or anything on the streets. They again face trauma. Then they are caught by the police. They come into the system of judiciary. Then they have to go through the entire child welfare system, and then finally they land up with you. And on the way, how many times their trust is lost. So it is not easy to make them adjust. But what we do is, we have counselors also, and we are ourselves, seasoned parents. We have raised our own children. We are able to listen to children between the lines. We make it a very, very participatory approach. So most of the time it works. Most of the time the children start changing and start looking up to us like their own family. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the trauma is so deep seated, so deep rooted. You are a counseling psychologist yourself, so you can understand that, just because you are doing some therapies, it's not necessary that the child would improve, because sometimes there are too deep
yeah.
inhibitions.
And that is what my question was coming from, because not just losing a parent, they might have been runaways, and for the reasons that are unfathomable to you and me, maybe to at least me. And then even when the authorities take over, the brutality that we hear of the human trafficking, or well, you know so that's where
Right.
I was coming from. So ma'am, that brings me to another thought, that you've been doing this for a while, and you have so many different 23 cities you are based in, right? um, and you have 16 Udayan Ghars. So there must be children who must have crossed the age of 18 and gone into the world.
Yes. So actually, when I talk about 20, it's not 23 cities. Actually, there are different programs. The
Okay.
Ghar program that we are talking about,
Hmm.
these were 17 homes, and we had shut down one home just now. So we've got 16 homes right now.
Right.
And
Right.
we've got 2 aftercare facilities, as well as aftercare program, where we are keeping our youth in scattered site housing or college hostels. So in the
Right.
homes, in these homes, only up to 18 they can reside. After
Right.
that, they are supposed to be getting aftercare, because you can't expect a child to stand on their own feet at the age of 18. They still
Absolutely.
need continued education.
Correct.
Some of them
Correct.
are not interested in education. Then maybe,
Right.
vocational training,
Vocational training. Right.
employability skills, life skills, all those kind of skills they need to learn to be
Absolutely.
able to establish themselves in society. So we
Absolutely.
are doing a lot of aftercare work. And actually, I think our aftercare work has been quite pioneering, in the sense, that we've been working on it from the year 2008. And we've also done a seminal study, a research study in 2018-19 with 450 youth in 5 states of India, where we met these youth and we asked them what really worked for them and what did not work for them in childcare institutions. And we also discovered many of them are not getting aftercare. After
Right.
that, we started an aftercare outreach program, which is
Right.
right now, we started right in the midst of COVID, because we
Right.
realized in the COVID times, care leavers, the children who left care, were the worst affected. Because
Yeah.
one, they don't have any parental support, no family,
Yeah.
even the CCI from where they grew up, they are not owning them anymore, and jobs were not there. They were just getting getting dropped from jobs. Education was suffering, vocational training. So we started this aftercare outreach program, and we have got 170 youth now who have come out of different childcare institutions, who are being supported by us.
Right. So, ma'am, in the aftercare work that you've been doing, are there children? I mean, I'm basically asking how are they coping in the adult world? Is there any success story that you have? I mean, everything is a success story. Some just
So
need a little extra work.
there are a lot of success stories. I mean, if you look at our own homes, from where we have so far nurtured almost 1,600 children and youth. Some of them
Wow.
came for short stay, where we could find their parents and got them restored back to
Wow.
families. And some continued with us till they became adults, and now they are thriving. At this moment, I mean, I really take pride in saying, in this last 1 year, four of our youth who grew up in our children's homes, they are studying for their masters in
Wow.
UK. Yeah, one
Wow.
of them is studying for in SOAS University. She's a Chevening fellow, and three of them, they are in St Andrew, which is in Scotland. So,
Wow.
a lot of things are happening for these children. Other than
Yeah.
them, we have produced a lot of lawyers, engineers, computer scientists, and, of course, there are many who are not interested in going
Yeah.
for higher
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. Of
So,
course.
but they also do their vocation training and
Yeah.
get into jobs. So they are able to lead a life of dignity. Yes, going back into the community, it has always been a challenge because they have not been exposed. But we
Right.
try to conduct a lot of workshops with them,
Hmm.
which we call work-life balance. And we
Yeah.
conduct a lot of workshops ever since they become 15, to train them into how to adjust in society, life skills, soft skills, computer-based skills, all kinds of skills. We take
Right.
up their emotional counseling, their physical health, their identity papers,
Yeah.
getting them employability skills, and finally getting them into employment. So it's a whole journey, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Of
do
course.
that.
So wonderful, ma'am. That really gladdens my heart to hear these amazing successes, and may all of them go to achieve whatever they want to achieve. So
Another
far,
thing
ma'am,
that we have done very interestingly is to try to bring together these youth who are coming out of different childcare institutions, like a care levers network. I think again here we have been pioneering in Asia, and we started clan in Delhi first for the first time in 2017, and now similar care levers networks are happening in India also, and in our South Asian countries. So when the care levers come together, they also understand that this kind of a brotherhood or a sisterhood they really need. They need people of their own kind who can understand them, who can empathize with them, and support each other. So
right.
I think this has really been a very interesting step that we have been able to take.
You brought up a very interesting aspect of care levers, and uh, it's almost like another genre of people who are neglected, who are unseen, unheard, because people like you and me just assume that or we don't even think about it. I think that somebody is alone. Like my kids, uh, friends. I mean, we just assume that everybody has someone, but here is a set of people who are literally alone in the world, and so it must be. a challenge for them to come together. So that's a, I must say that network must be a great support, isn't it?
Yeah, it is evolving, and I think, this is the most neglected group of youth, and
Yeah,
all of us must take notice of them. If you ask a man on the street, what is a care leaver? Who is a care leaver? They wouldn't know,
you wouldn't know.
And I
Yeah,
think if you look at it in India, there are identified 3.5 million orphan children, and there are
wow.
almost 10,000 registered registered children's homes where these youth are living, and these children are living. And when the children come out every year, when they become 18, some of them get aftercare, and some of them don't. Actually,
Don't,
most of them don't.
don't.
So you can imagine at the age of 18, you just disappear into this
Yeah,
world
yeah, yeah.
with
You're like a
nobody to
drop in
take
the
care of.
ocean. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Absolutely.
And perhaps no life skills, or, I mean, they're so young and vulnerable at that age. They don't even know what's going to hit them as they, navigate that. So, ma'am, what
You've
about girls?
absolutely,
Sorry,
yeah, I will just
go
come
ahead.
to that.
No, yeah,
Just wanted to add here,
yeah,
you've absolutely caught on to the thing, skills. When you are in a childcare institution, you're not supposed to cook, you're not supposed to wash,
yeah,
you're not supposed to
yeah,
do anything. You are supposed to study. You be there. Then how do you learn the skills, of running a home, managing things on your own, buying vegetables, for example, or cooking on your own, or cleaning, or nothing do you have you been trained into while you are in a childcare institution. Similarly, you are within closed setup. Maybe you go to school, and many children childcare institutions I've seen, they are not even going to a school. So you remain confined within your home, and you are meeting only people with like yourself. And then when you go out into the world, it's a whole different world
yeah,
altogether.
yeah, yeah,
How do they
absolutely.
adjust? No
Yeah,
skills, no social skills has been taught to them.
yeah,
And these things
yeah.
can't be taught. These are
No,
experienced,
yes,
and they've
absolutely.
not
That's
been
what I was
experienced.
thinking. Yeah, yeah. That's why foster homes, I mean, horror story apart, perhaps work because there is a family that you are being exposed to, and there are so many things vicariously you learn from each other, right? I mean,
Absolutely. So that's why we have been paying a lot of stress on deinstitutionalization. Even those children who come to us, those who have families, we try to, talk to the families, convince them to take their children back and support them, financially or otherwise as they need. And similarly, we started a program again in the COVID times, which is, children who have been restored back in the COVID times. They say 1.5 lakh children have been restored back to their families to make space, in the childcare institutions. We are trying to, start looking for those children who have gone back to the families, what is happening with them, and if we can strengthen the families.
right. Ma'am, listening to you, there is one thing, one question that perhaps I should have asked. Um, I'm assuming, or rather, we are assuming that everybody understands who are these children. They are underprivileged children, so to speak, or having difficulties. Take a moment and, ma'am, please define for the audience. Not every child is coming from an broken family, or not every child is coming who's orphaned. There are different types of children who are coming into your system, right, into your care. Would you take a moment to, ma'am, at least enlighten us who these children are? Maybe we can look out for them, help them.
Sure. So, actually, a child who is without parental care,
Yeah,
that child needs care and
right,
alternative care. So
right,
this alternative care term is very, very important. Now this alternative care could be institutionalization, the way we have it in India, because here, even though our Juvenile Justice Act clearly talks about deinstitutionalization and institutionalization as the last resort, there should be more community based models, like foster care, for example, or other models, so that the children can go back to the community and they live in a family setup. But
right.
in the in the want of these families and other things coming up only after 2015-16, people still have a lot of I mean, they don't, there are a lot of ignorance about it. So a lot of work is being done to create more foster families so that the children from institutions, they can go to the foster family. First thing
Right.
is you strengthen the family. The
Right.
family, if they get strengthened by getting some additional support, whether financial or educational, something, they will be able to keep their children. The children
Right.
will not need an alternative care.
Right. Right. So, ma'am, just to one again, just for people to understand this, these are children who may or may not have lost parents, but they definitely have lost their parental care. They may or may
Absolutely.
not be from the so-called poor economic strata of the company. They can be of the country. They can be from any family strata where they are not being provided care. Right? Have I understood it correctly, ma'am?
No, 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 no. I don't think so. I have not found any child coming into the system who is coming from a very affluent family.
Affluent family.
Most of the
Okay.
time, these are children who are stuck by poverty.
Right.
They could be trafficked. They could be child
Right.
marriage. They
Right.
could be into child labor.
Right.
All these clearly say that the parental care is not there.
Right.
So any child who's not getting the kind of
Kind.
adequate parental care that the child is entitled to
And that.
will need, either the family should be strengthened or the child needs an alternative care.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's what I wanted to hear from you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Any child who needs that support, where parental support is, for whatever reason, is not provided. So, ma'am, moving on, we have a little time left still. I wanted to talk about, and with no offense to any gender here, uh, girl child who comes, whom whom you see and deal. I mean, both boys and girls have different requirements, and both are equally vulnerable. I want to emphasize on the girl child because, unfortunately, the world that we live in makes girls far more vulnerable. How do you support them? How do they deal with it? How are they, you know, um, taking the world on? Are their perceptions changing? Are they able to really um, get stronger, etc.? How are you? I mean, are we reaching the desired level of, you know, um, what should I say? Giving them the sense of security and confidence. Are we able to do that?
So gender bias is rampant in our society,
Yes.
and poverty, if you look at poverty, it is one of the most important factors
Yeah.
whether a girl can access and complete her education,
Right.
whether a girl can live with dignity. If
Mm.
money is less, food will go to the boy child first.
Yes.
If money is less, education will be given to the boy child, and girls are still thought of as a burden. And
Right.
there is so much of violence. I was reading one data somewhere, 60 million girls are sexually assaulted on their way to or school every year.
Yes.
I mean, with this kind of a data, parents also start fearing, sending their girls to schools. Child marriage, if you look at it, more than 41,000 girls under the age of 18, they marry every day. 41,000 girls. Can you believe it? This is the world data. And if you look at COVID, what COVID had done, all the schools closed down and the children were away from school. And who suffered the most? In the entire world, 800 million girls, they lost out on schools. And in India, if you look at it, 5 to 15-year-old girls, they spend 40% more time doing household work than the boys do. It's a sad situation for the girls. We are talking about gender parity in certain strata of society because of education, because of constant, exposure. The girls are coming at par with the boys, but still in the poverty struck areas, girls are nowhere. They are like nobody's children. Our
So, ma'am,
Udayan
is this
Shalini
an, yeah, yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Our Udayan Shalini Fellowship program, now it has reached 26 cities and we've got 11,000 girls. They are all coming from the lower socio-economic backgrounds. We select them from government schools. Our study showed that by the time they reach class 10, they start dropping out. So we
Yeah.
start, preparing them to join us when they reach class 11. And then we carry them through till they finish their graduation. Many of them develop the dream to become postgraduates and even PhDs. And we have had so many PhDs also, engineers, doctors, all kinds of professionals coming out of our program. Here we interact with the families, with their brothers, and we try to break the myths around girl education so that more and more families, they start becoming aware that how important it is for the girls to study. Similarly, in our vocational training centers, which I said in the beginning, there are 17 of them all across, where boys are also coming and the girls are also coming. But we always try to maintain a ratio of 60-40, 60% girls and 40% boys, and where they are trained into different kinds of vocational training and technical training. And we also look for jobs for them. Our employment cell looks for jobs and get them into jobs. One thing that I'm noticing, even today, the other day only I read about this, that even in the corporate jobs, in the boardrooms, only 4.5% women are there.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And if you, that is, boardrooms, of course, but even in Panchayati Raj,
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere, women's numbers are so small. And I think uh, we really need to, as a society, we really need to work very hard so that the girls, they find their voice, they find
Yes.
their agency, and this will come only by education and nothing else.
So, ma'am, in Udayan, you do help and support the girls to find their voices, as we are saying, so that we can have more empowered women, young girls in the future.
Absolutely. And this agency that we try to inculcate in them, it happens again, like I said, this community of carers. So we have a whole lot of people who really care for these children. We
Yeah.
induct them as our mentors and our committee members as our conveners who set up these programs in their cities, and they interact with the girls and help them develop their own voice. You know, Something like a workshop on assertiveness. I think it is so important.
Yes,
Even
ma'am.
anybody on the road can shut down a girl by just shouting at them, and the girl will not know what to say. So, assertiveness, how do you assert for your rights? How
Yes,
do you know your rights? How do you work on your rights? These are the kind of things while they are getting educated throughout the
absolutely,
year. We continue to
absolutely.
do such workshops with them so that
Yeah,
they develop their agency. And most of the time, if you look at the families start taking pride in their own girls. The neighbors, for neighbors, these our girls are becoming like role models, and they really want to now to start teaching their own girls. Same in the school. Our child who is studying in the same school where she was studying suddenly becomes a star for the children, for the other children, for the teachers, because they can see the personality change in her.
changes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, before we did the show, I told you I had gone to see that movie, 𝗬𝗲𝗍, right? And exactly what you're talking. You must see it. And in fact, people who are into caregiving must go and see how that one woman, how empowering yourself and believing in yourself is so important to, you can only do so much. And these women or these girls, boys, whoever, they have to find their own voice. So great
Absolutely.
job, ma'am. I'm really feeling very inspired. And you seem to have, you've been doing this for such a long time. And I'm sure there are loads and loads of stories and good stories, not so good stories, some heartbreaks, some moment of great pride, etc. Um, we do believe, I mean, at least I do very strongly believe that as adults, we need to be aware and be very mindful of the world that we are creating and leaving behind for the younger lords. I'm going to move away from the children for a minute, ma'am, because children are the product of the adults. So, in your experience, what is it that we adults need to do? We may not become, be associated with an NGO, but just as adults, as human beings, what do we need to do? What advice would you give us so that we are able to empower at least some children who come in contact with us, so that perhaps we can support them, help them, be there for them, nurture them?
I think I would just like to take Mahatma Gandhi's famous words: be the change that you wish to see in the world. If you have brought about that change in yourself, you will be able to change many lives. And you don't have to go to an NGO only to do that. In our programs, giving back to society is a very important element. You know, each of our children are taught actually programmatically how to give back. You know, this 50 hours of social work that they need to do for the Shalini girls and for the Ghar children to be able to go into the communities and do some kind of a social work or look into in their own stuff and take out some stuff which they can give to a little less advantaged person. I think all this needs to be taught to children, whether they are coming from high strata of society or wherever they are coming from.
Wherever they.
These are very important things. And I totally believe in the power of one individual. You know, that's why from the beginning, my attitude was to create this community of carers. And, you know, there are so many people, if 250 people are employed by the organization, I would like to say another 250 minimum are are in voluntary positions at key positions in different chapters. And each of our girls, while she is being mentored when she's in school, when she goes to college, she becomes a mentor didi. And
Right.
when she becomes a full-fledged person, you know, professional, she becomes a full-fledged mentor. So when you are giving, you know, like this, it comes into your DNA, and you
Right.
start thinking of others. You go beyond yourself. We keep on telling all our children, you have to think of yourself first. You have to think of your
Absolutely.
family. Absolutely. But you have to think of your community. You have to think of your country, how you can give back, how you can be part of nation building, because our
Yes.
country needs us.
Right. Absolutely, ma'am. So, what I hear you saying to us as adults is that we need to instill that value of, I call it pay it forward, and others call it pay it forward. An
Absolutely.
attitude of gratitude, pay it forward, what you've been granted, give it to others, and just keep that ball rolling.
Could
Wonderful,
I just
ma'am.
share one beautiful
Yes, ma'am.
example?
Yes, yes,
Like
yes.
some of our girls, they've been able to go to Cambridge, you know, and do their PhD from there in physics. And
Wow.
they were so grateful for the, you know, for the world helping them, but more than the world, they helped themselves by writing, you know, proposals and things, and got funding, and they've been able to do that. Can you believe it? They've started, you know, these WhatsApp groups where other girls who are wanting to go abroad, they are giving them lectures. Another
Wow.
girl has started a series, you know, where she's training others that if you're wanting to go abroad, what all you must do, you
Wow.
know. So I think this sense of mentorship, because they are being mentored in such a programmatic, determined manner, that it is becoming part of their DNA, and they
Yeah.
really pay it forward in your words.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am. Sharing is so important, and that's what they're doing. I mean, wonderful. I'm feeling so. It's so wonderful to hear what you're saying. It feels good. There is hope, because when you look at the world the way it is today, currently, right now, and I keep asking myself, what are we really doing to each other? We need stories like this. We need people like this. We need youngsters like this who will keep the hope going for the mankind, hopefully. So before I start wrapping up this session, ma'am, one last question that I want to take on with you is that you've been doing some great work. You've been building community. You've been working with the government. You've been doing a lot of research also that I hear. What kind of support are you really looking for, ma'am, from government, from authorities, from people like me and you and everybody else? What can we do to help you drive this mission more? What is our action that we can take that will help you?
And I think you've got only 1 minute left, and this
No,
requires
ma'am,
a very long
continue. I'm
answer.
sure. Please go ahead.
See, from governments, we really expect more support. Of course, it's not lacking, but it requires more support.
More.
There are beautiful laws, but laws, are they being administered in the true spirit of the law? Sometimes the word becomes more important than the spirit. And that's where everything starts falling apart. So I think more interaction with the government authorities is needed than presently being happening, so that they can understand where we are coming from and what else is lacking actually in the law, in word and in spirit. Spirit part to me is very, very
Very
important.
important. Very
And
important.
most of the time the authorities, they get caught in that word and the spirit gets lost.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
common people, I would expect more and more people to think of those who are less fortunate than them. They are looking after their families well. They are in the rat race of earning more money and more money. But beautiful thing is, of late, in the last so many years of my being in this sector, I'm noticing many corporate people are also getting kind of, that itch. I must give back to society.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they are taking a salary cut and they are joining NGO sectors. And they are able to bring in that kind of professionalism, which we as a sector could use. So I
Right.
think that's happening. I mean, beyond that, I don't know whether there is any ready-made answer which is going to fit everyone. Everybody has some passion. You have to understand your passion, and you have to work on it, and you have to realize it.
Right. Wonderful, ma'am. So, to all the audience who are listening to this show, this is a conversation with Dr. Kiran Modi, who runs a NGO called Care.
Udayan Care.
Udayan Care. Sorry. My bad. Udayan Care,
No problem.
and it is uh, for children who are left uncared for by their caregivers, nurturers, and they're nurtured by the NGO. They're looked after by the NGOs, taught to go in the life and live a much more functioning life, so to speak. And if you have anything that you can do with them, I'm sure they'll be happy to, uh, you know. Um, take your support and help in whichever manner, time, money, uh, publicity, all of that. And so, thank you so much, ma'am. Any last words you want to give our audience before I start wrapping up this session? Wonderful session.
I would just say, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Nidhi, for asking such nice questions. And also to your organization, TLR Shows, for giving us this opportunity. To my audience who have been listening to me going blah, blah, blah for the last 1 hour, I'm sorry if I bored you to death, but we are waiting for you. We means not only Udayan Care, the nearest NGO to you, or the last child who might be very near your house and who
Right,
needs your support.
right.
Thank
And
you.
very small things you can do. I think, um you can provide them with a little Wi-Fi time because they need to download something or they need to read something. Even those little helps can go a long way in supporting a child. So thank you so much, Dr. Modi. And this brings the end to the 96th edition of TLR shows. And I must say that I was humbled, I was empowered, I was teary eyed listening to Dr. Modi, wondering the kind of plight some of these young ones go through, and there is not enough help and support that is being given. We can do more and we can start small steps. So great show. It's been really enlightening. It's been very insightful, and I request you to please visit the website www.udyancare.org, UDAYANCARE.org. Please donate your resources, your time, your expertise, and continue to help them in their mission of making young lives shine. Follow TLR on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. You know all the places that all of us exist. And, we will be lining up the 100th show very soon. Thank you so much. I am Nidhi Sharma. I am a counseling psychologist. Well, in front of Dr. Modi, I'm really small, but
No, not at all.
it's great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Modi. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Most welcome.